Episode 10, Sonic's Journey. Sonic hunts down in his coat, a cold wind blowing in his face. It was hard trying to find Uncle Chuck's hideout in all the snow. He was sure he was close, but everything pretty much looked the same under a layer of white. Sonic knocked experimentally on a few piles of snow. Eventually, one opened to his knocking, and he hurried inside. "That's you, sonny boy!" A welcome voice came from inside. "Yeah, Unc," Sonic said, removing his hood. "What brings you out in such weather?" Uncle Chuck asked, walking to his nephew and giving him a hug. "We gotta talk," Sonic said, returning the hug. He walked with his uncle to his control console. "I gather you heard I got captured, right?" "So it was true," Uncle Chuck said thoughtfully. "I thought it was all a trick by Snively to get me out of hiding. What happened?" "Seems Snively got some new swap butts." "Yes, those AI swap butts he's been building," Uncle Chuck interrupted. "But all the intelligence I gathered pointed to those robots being failures." "Well, they ain't. They captured me, and there wasn't a thing I could do about it." "Stop being so hard on yourself, Sonic," Uncle Chuck said encouragingly. "Everyone has off days." "You sound just like Sally," Sonic said, smiling momentarily. "No, Unc, it was not just an off day. I've been distracted lately." "Oh, why?" Uncle Chuck asked, sitting down in his chair, typing a few things. "I never told you what really happened to the Void. Maybe it's time I did." Sonic sat down awkwardly on the floor. "When we faced the Void, it offered us what it thought would be our deepest desire. It told me my parents were still alive, and it could tell me how to find them." Uncle Chuck suddenly stopped typing. His hands, now trembling, clenched slowly into fists. "It's impossible," he whispered. "They couldn't be alive all this time." "Unc, I need to know. What happened to them? Why did they leave me?" "Forget it, Sonic," Uncle Chuck said abruptly. "Forget you ever heard about them. It's all lies. They can't be alive." "You know, there are days when I do prefer how the comics did it, saying that Uncle Chuck roboticized Sonic's dad because Jules was in such bad shape that he needed to be. Kind of adds an additional layer of tragedy, and also kind of makes the roboticizer even bigger to Sonic than it is in canon. I also kind of like how it demonstrates just what can happen when a good man tries his best, and how a good thing can be corrupted. "Come on, Unc. Tell me," Sonic pleaded. "No, Sonic, I won't tell you. All this could bring is heartache." "Well, I'm going to find them, with or without your help," Sonic declared. "Now, at this weather," Uncle Chuck demanded, "you won't survive long out there. Think about what you're saying. If you don't come back, think of what would happen to Sally and the others." "I am thinking about them," Sonic yelled, rounding on his uncle. "I'm no good to them like this. If I keep getting distracted, how are we going to beat Snively? I have to find some answers." Uncle Chuck stared into Sonic's eyes, trying to measure his determination. Sonic never even flinched, even when his uncle's eyes glowed red. "All right, Sonic," Uncle Chuck said, finally defeated. "I'll tell you what you know." Sonic smiled, wiping his forehead. "You had me going there for a while, Unc," Sonic admitted, sitting down on the floor again. Uncle Chuck took a deep breath before he began. "When you were 2 years old, your parents were summoned in front of the king and asked to perform a very special mission. You see, the Great War was still going on, and your parents were among the king's best operatives. He wanted him to infiltrate the enemy's government and leak out information directly to Julian." Whoa, wait a minute," Sonic interrupted. "Are you telling me that my parents were spies?" "Why does this sound familiar?" Parents are spies, hunting down for the government. Nah, I can't think of it. "Don't make it sound so negative, Sonic. After all, I'm spying on Snively, ain't I? Your parents were instrumental in winning the war. The information they found helped save countless lives. Without them, the war might have continued on for another 5 or so years." If they were so important, why is it first I heard about them?
I'm getting to that. After the war was over, the enemy government imprisoned in Metropolis. They stayed behind to see if there was anything that could be used in the future. They told me that they would be home in a couple of weeks. We're planning a big welcome home party.
Also, I just like the idea that Uncle Chuck will always harbor this deep fear that he roboticized his brother.
But then the unthinkable happened. One of our units, having not been notified about the end of the war, launched an attack on their place, reducing it to rubble. Your parents were inside at the time. We hoped they would made it out, but we could find no trace of them. And then the coup happened a few weeks later, and well, you know the rest.
Sonic stared at his uncle. Why did you never tell me about them before now? Uncle Chuck visited his chair.
Well, you had no memory of them by that time. I decided to leave well enough alone. When you did ask, I tried to stay out the subject, knowing that you would forget about it soon enough.
Sonic stood up silently. Unc, I have to find out if DT escaped. I just have to know.
Sonic, be reasonable. Even if they did escape, how could they survive for 12 years on their own? We know they didn't hook up with any of the freedom fire groups the King gave Sally. Forget about this.
I can't, Unc. You know that.
Uncle Tuck sighed. Yeah, I know. You're just like your father was at your age.
Can you tell me about them? Anything I could use to find them?
Uncle Tuck nodded sadly. Your father, my brother, was named Maurice, like I said. Just like you are now. Good looking, always cooking. You inherited your speed from them.
See, this is a better place to use the name Maurice than elsewhere. Penders! Ooh, you were waiting for that shot out the port bow, weren't you? Been waiting the whole fic. But, yeah. I disagree with Penders on a lot of things. I did? But you say you didn't know where my speed came from. You only thought it was genetic.
Another lie. Super speed has been passed down in our family for generations, always from eldest son to eldest son. It was our family's best kept secret. The power rings were also supposed to be meant for him and you.
How many lies, Unc? Sonic demanded. How many?
I lost track, Sonic,
he said, turning away. And my mother?
Patricia was a beautiful hedgehog.
Beatrice or Patricia? Beatrice or Patricia? I kinda like Beatrice. It's a cute name. And I kinda do prefer Jules over Morris. If only because it sounds like Jules was an increment of electricity. See why?
She had a body that could stop a robot at 10 paces. There was a way she would toss her hair quills that would make any man forget what he was doing. Her beauty was masked only by her sharp wit and even sharper tongue. She could argue with the best of them, always with a comeback. Once, Morris and I both courted her. Needless to say, he won, but I never had any bitterness about it. They were in every way a perfect couple. I could tell you so many stories about them. Almost as many stories as I could tell you about Longclaw. Oh, my beautiful Longclaw.
Yes, I'm making this a thing. Another time, Unc, Sonic interrupted. Now I know I gotta find them. Any idea where they could be? Uncle Chuck shook his head.
All I could tell you is where they were. As far as I can remember, the kingdom we faced in the Great War was on the edge of the Great Unknown.
That's not too far from here, Sonic said happily. Uncle Chuck shook his head again.
No, Sonic. The Great Unknown is a vast area that's never been sufficiently mapped. This kingdom lied on the edge that bordered the Dark Swamp, on the other side of the Great Forest. It's at least a week's journey from here.
Oh, great. Dark Swamp, Great Unknown. Why can't some of these fancy places just have names like the Happy Bunny Farm, or the Flowers, or the Fields of Warm Hugs, or the Sparkly Jewels of Eternal Happiness? Oh, no. We gotta go with the Great Unknown, the Dark Woods, and my personal favorite, the Trees of Infected Syringes! That isn't the place. No, but I'm making that a place in my next campaign! Eep! Oh, man, that's how long I promised Sal I'd be gone. Wait a minute. If it's a week's journey normally, how long would it be for me? Uncle Chuck considered for a moment.
Well, if you got lucky, you might be able to find it by tomorrow night. Provided you didn't get lost or hurt, of course.
Of course, Sonic said dryly. Huh, thanks for the help, Unc. Got you a jam!
Hold up, Sonic. The Dark Swamp itself is pretty big. The area near here, where Ironlock Prison is located, is on the wrong side of the swamp. If you want to be safe, go through the forest where the swamp's edge meets the forest. Head due south into the swamp until you come to a drained section with ruins. That's where you want to be.
Well, it is a swamp, so there's a lot of dangerous things. Wait a minute. Alligators and crocodiles live in swamps. Hey, we could get Vector! He could help! Gotcha, Unc. Later! By the way, I want you to look this over, he said, taking a rolled up paper from his backpack. It's something I might want to do really soon, and I need to know if it'll work. Rover helped me draw up plans.
Be careful, Sonic,
Uncle Chuck called as Sonic ran out the secret door.
I hope you find what you're looking for.
Sonic's first day of travel was uneventful. He reached the edge of the swamp by sunset and decided to set up camp. Not a good idea to travel swamp by night, he reasoned, setting up his tent and bedroll. A little while later, Sonic was eating some dried meat in front of his campfire, staring out over the swamp and enveloped it. A thin sliver of moon shone down the sky, turned black. The darker it became, the noisier the swamp was. Man, sounds like there's a lot of moving out there, Sonic thought. Just hope it stays outside the camp. He reached in his pocket for his mittens, and something fell out, hitting the ground with a metallic tinkling. Curious, Sonic picked up the item and held it up to firelight. It turned out to be a ring, too small for any finger but his pinky. It had a curious design, one that he could see in the dim light. Shrugging, he placed it on his pinky and crawled into the tent. He fell on his bedroll, not even bothering to open up, and fell asleep. At that point, the ring summoned a flame energy and, hey! No Sonic in the Sacred Rings references! Oh, but I love that game. Back in Knothole, Sandra ran to her hut and called Sally for dinner. Hey, Sally, she called, opening the door. You're late. Remember, Bunny invited us for dinner? She hurried to the hut, but couldn't find her sister. Sally, she called worriedly. Then she remembered the events of this morning. She still couldn't be at Sonic's, could she? She asked herself. She ran out of the hut and go to Sonic's hut. Sure enough, Sally was still in Sonic's bed. Yo, sis, get up, Sandra called playfully. Sally turned over and looked at Sandra. An expression on her face, a dull look in her eyes. Sandra could see her sister had not slept a wink all day. Sally? What is it, Sandra? Sally mumbled. Hey, you hungry? Time for dinner at Bunny's. Sally took her head weakly. No thanks, I'm not hungry. Sandra looked at the plate of chili dogs that had been there since that morning. Not one had been touched. Sally, you haven't eaten at all, have you? Sandra accused. Sally shrugged noncommittally, then turned away from Sandra. Sandra sat by her sister. Last time you were like this is when you were worried about me, back when I first showed up. I'm telling you, sis, this is not healthy. What do you think everyone else is thinking about this? Sally shrugged again, not seeming to care. Sally, I'm worried about you. From what I understand, you've never been on like this. Why don't you talk to me? Come on, I'm your sister! Sally rolled her back and sat up. I've never been like this, because things like this have never happened, Sally whispered. When you showed up, it was the first time I had any sign from my father since I got that disc from him. Of course I was going to be worried. Maybe I did go too far with that, but nothing else was happening. And now, well, it's hard to explain. Since Sonic left this morning, I haven't been thinking about anything but him. I mean, since the coup happened, we've never been apart more than a few hours. And even then we knew we'd get back together. But now, he'll be at least gone a week and may not come back. Hey, don't talk like that, Sandra said. Sonic will be back. He always comes back. Before yesterday, I would have believed that. But since he got captured, I can't help but think it could happen again. At this time, there's no one to save him. We don't even know where he's gone. Oh, Sally, I didn't realize the bond between you two was so strong, Sandra said, hugging Sally. He'll be okay. You just have to believe that. Sally hugged Sandra, crying. Sandra just let Sally let it all out of her system. When she was finished, Sally lay back and was asleep. Sandra kissed her sister's forehead and crept out of the hut. I gotta do something now about this, she thought unhappily. Only one animal might be able to help me now. Maybe Miles will go with me in the morning. The next morning, Sonic awoke to the sounding of scraping outside the tent. He lay still, looking for the cause of the sound. Two figures stood just outside his tent, apparently looking for a way in. He tensed as the shadows approached the door. But nothing came in. The scraping sound continued until it made the circuit of the tent. Then the figures moved to stand out the door.
Come on out, a rough voice called, obviously male. But be careful and hold your breath.
Sonic stood, grabbing his backpack. He slung it on and opened the flaps, holding his breath as the voice had indicated. As soon as he stepped outside, two pairs of hands grabbed him roughly. Before he could react, he placed something over his mouth and nose.
What goes?
Sonic yelled, struggling to get it off. The hands belonged to two masked and robed figures. It strained quite efficiently. Easy there, the other, a female voice, said. Her voice was rough too, but it was forced roughness, as if it wasn't normally. Don't take off that gas mask, or you're one dead hedgehog. Say what? Sonic asked. The male pointed a gloved hand at Sonic's tent. Sonic was surprised to see his tent covered in purplish mold. What's that?
We call it Purple Death, the male answered. It'll grow over any non-living material that lies on the ground for too long, covering it in less than an hour. Breathe any of its spores, and you're dead just as quickly. Just be glad your tent had a bottom, or your stuff would be covered in it.
Whoa, wasn't prepared for that, Sonic admitted. Thanks, he said, trying to walk away, but was still restrained. Hey, you can let go. We'll beat each other that, the female said. So he struck Sonic once in the back of the head, putting him in a semi-conscious state.
Was that necessary?
The male said, placing Sonic on his shoulder. You know we had to be careful. That thing could take any form it's able to.
Yeah, let's just get back to the hideout.
Nahal was becoming just as active at that time, and Sandra decided to check up on her sister. Feeling any better, Sally? She asked, opening the door. Sally got up and stretched. Yeah, I guess, she said sleepily. Sandra walked in and sat on a chair. Still worried about Sonic? What kind of question is that? Of course I am. Thought so. You gonna stay in there all day again? Sally shrugged, laying back down. I might, at least for a little while. Sandra groaned. Come on, get up, she ordered, trying to drag Sally out of bed. You know, I do appreciate this fic is showing how devoted Sonic and Sally are, but times like this, I wonder if it's making Sally a little too devoted, because it's making it seem like Sally can't do anything without him, and I'm afraid that this might make Sally weaker in comparison to her other portrayals. And no, Penders is still the worst. Sally grabbed onto the mattress with both hands. Sandra, what do you think you're doing? She demanded. I'm trying to get you a life, Sandra said, pulling with all she had. I have one. Does it look like it? Their argument was interrupted by the sound of whistling tails. Sandra licked his tails, flew into the hut, about to ask for his help. Sally placed one foot in Sandra's stomach and kicked her into tails, knocking them both out the hut. I have one stubborn sister, Sandra declared as Sally shut the door. She stood up and ran over her legs. Come on, she said, grabbing Tails by the tails and running off. Hey! Tails yelled in surprise. What's going on? You'll see when we get to Sanctuary. Sanctuary? Why are we going there? I said you'll see when we get there, Sandra replied, and sped up so Tails wouldn't ask her any more questions. A blast of cold water hit Sonic in the face, bringing him to full alertness. He looked around, but it was too dark to see anything. Man, how long have it been out? He wondered aloud. Not long, a male voice answered, the one he recognized from lair. It's dark because you're underground. Sonic tried to stand, but found that his wrists and ankles had been bound together by one short piece of rope, forcing him to stay in a hunched-over position. Hey, why did you tie me up? He asked. Because we don't know you, the female answered, her voice more dulcet. We tend to be careful around animals we don't know. Yo, if you're working for Snively, you're picking on the wrong hedgehog, Sonic said, trying vainly to see. A torch was struck, lighting the cave he was in. Though the figures did not wear gas masks anymore, they wore cloth over their faces to hide their identity. Dark robes had been replaced by greenish-brown clothing that hid their species, as well as cloths that hid their faces. Now, why should we be working for that little whiny... Chill out! The female told her companion. So he approached Sonic and stared at him. How's your hand? A little pain don't bother me, Sonic said bravely, but that mold does. Don't worry about it. It can only grow at the border between the swamp and forest. We used an anti-mold agent on your pack, coat, and sneakers, just to be safe. That's a relief, Sonic said. You ain't so bad after all. Oh no. Well, what do you think about this? She held the torch to his arm. Sonic screamed in pain, rolling away. Ah! What'd you do that for? He yelled. The female looked at her companion and placed the torch on the wall. Well, you're not him, she said. He likes pain. Him who? Sonic asked, trying to block out the pain. The male walked up to him and applied a poultice to the burn. Hope you never had to find the answer to that question, he said gravely. But that doesn't explain who you are and what you're doing here, the female said. For all we know, you could be working for Snively, or Robotnik for that matter. Man, where have you been? Sonic asked. Old Butnick's been dead for over half a year already. Say what? The female asked, and Sonic felt a strange sensation to go through him. Yeah, me and the Freedom Fighters wasted him in his doomsday device, Sonic explained, starting to puff up with pride. It's just who are you? She asked sarcastically. Name's Sonic. Sonic Hedgehog. I know you've heard of me. The two figures suddenly grabbed Sonic's face and stared at it in such intensity that Sonic felt he could be burning up. They stared at it harder. They backed away slowly, tears in their eyes. By the Almighty, the male whispered. Is it really you? The female ran up to Sonic and hugged him with amazing strength. Sonic tried to wiggle away, but only held him tighter. Hey, what's with the waterworks? The male removed the cloth from his face. Sonic found himself looking into a hedgehog's face, very similar to Uncle Chuck's, but one that had been hardened by experience. In lieu of a moustache, he wore a short, scraggly beard, which had been added to the hardness. But in the eyes, Sonic saw something he had been waiting nearly all his life to see. Daddy? He asked quietly. He nodded slowly and ran out to hug Sonic. My son! He exclaimed. I thought you were dead or roboticized! Who, me? Sonic asked between tears. Uncle Tuck said I'm just like you, good looking and always cooking. How's my brother these days? He was one of the first ones roboticized, but we were able to bring his mind back, and he's spying for us in Robotropolis. 2 peas in a pod, the female said, removing her cloth. Her fur had a blue tint to them, as opposed to his father's gray, and her hair quills were a dirty blonde. Though the years had taken their toll, Sonic could see hints of a former beauty. Does he have anything to say to your mother? Well, I'd be hugging you back, but I'm a little tied up at the moment. Oh, sorry about that, his father said, cutting Sonic free. Sonic rubbed his wrists and ankles, trying to get circulation back. What are you two doing here? He asked, after all the hugging had stopped. Everyone thinks you're dead. It's hard to explain, his mother said. After the war, we were in the palace, trying to find anything of use when the palace was hit by a shell. We managed to escape with our contact, Alexei, and into the swamp. We were getting ready to come back when we heard about the coup. We came back and found that Julian, or Robotnik as he called himself, had completely taken over. We couldn't find a trace of anything living, so we came back here to set up a base where we could get back at him. Unfortunately, no matter what we tried, he just kept going and going strong. We just didn't have the manpower to do any real damage. When we heard a large source of power existed in this part of the swamp, we searched until we came upon a ruined structure not far from here. It was obviously very old, but it was built to withstand anything. Once we got inside, Alexei got separated from us. We called for him, but we couldn't find where he had gone. At about the same time, the building started to shake and slowly sinking into the swamp. We barely made it out, but we thought Alexei didn't. A couple of days later, we saw him wandering the swamp. We went to him, and he attacked us. We retreated, not knowing what had come over him. Later, we found out that he had been possessed by some kind of evil spirit, and now calls himself Alexei Kavanov. He'd been hunting us ever since, his only goal to cause misery and suffering. If we leave, he'll follow and spread his misery all to Mobius. Dark Conquest, is that you? No. Too obvious for me. Man, that's deep, Sonic said. Do you know how to stop this thing? His father shook his head.
No, we don't. In fact, we can't even attack it safely. For what will we know? If we kill its host, it'll be free to possess whoever kills it. In fact, it's been trying to get us to kill it. Pain doesn't stop it, nor do any traps for long.
But enough about that, his mother said. I want to hear everything about you. I haven't seen my son in over 15 years, so I got a lot of catching up to do.
You got it, Mom.
But first, do you have anything to eat? An approaching sonic boom roused Sally from her slumber. Sonic? She called eagerly, jumping out of bed. But it wasn't Sonic. Sandra burst through the door. I'm back, sis, she said. Sally looked at her for a moment, then laid back down. Well, don't get excited to see me, Sandra said. What do you want now? Sally asked. I brought a couple of visitors to see you. You really shouldn't do this to yourself, Sally, a friendly voice said. You'll make yourself sick with worry. Sally looked and saw Rosie standing by the bed.
She's right, you know,
Tannis said, coming to stand next to Rosie. Sally looked from one to another. Look, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but... Oh, you haven't done anything yet, Rosie said, smiling. Nothing you can do will change the fact that Sonic is there and I am here, Sally finished, and the fact that he doesn't want me there. What exactly do you say? Sonic says he wants to do this alone. He did not want me to go with him.
Did he say anything about you joining him once he got there?
Tannis asked. Sally stared at him, an idea forming. No, he did not, Sally said, jumping out of bed. But then, how do we know he found him yet?
I know he has,
Tannis said confidently.
When Sandra asked for my help, that was the first thing I checked.
Sally took a step and almost fell. Tails grabbed her and stayed her. Before you go anywhere, you better get something to eat, he said. His nose wrinkled. And a sour wouldn't hurt either. Sally glared at Tails, but then got a whiff of herself. Phew! She said, holding her nose. Doesn't Sonic ever change these seats? Oh, nothing but chili dog stains and ketchup stains and mustard stains.
It'll take some time to find where Sonic is,
Tannis said, smiling.
There seems to be an evil presence over one part of the dark slump. He might be there, then again he might not. Come to Sanctuary when you're ready to go.
In the meantime, Rosie said, I'll fix you something to eat. Thanks, Rosie, Sally said, smiling. Oh, and you can throw that plate of chili dogs in the trash. Those Poor things. They're probably already rotted with mold. Only one thing to do. We must give them a proper burial. Indeed, Trix. Indeed. Remember, this past Memorial Day, support your troops. Now that everything is back to normal, where are we? Sandra asked, looking at Tails. Tails grabbed Sandra and tossed her headfirst into the snow as Thomas opened the door. Laughing, he flew out. Sandra got up and started chasing him. Rosie smiled as she watched them. They kind of remind me of myself and Tanis, she said. Do you ever regret being away from Tanis all this time? Sally asked. All the time. In fact, if he hadn't left what he did, I'm quite confident we would have a family by now. It's never too late, you know, Sally pointed out. But Rosie shook her head. No. Marriage and all that foolishness should be left to the young. We're too old to be thinking like teenagers again. If you say so. Meanwhile, I had to find Antoine and get my normal shampoo back before I tear my hair purple again. And, she added with a slight smile, that's not how I like to meet prospective in-laws. The family of hedgehogs sat on the floor in the cave, letting their meal digest. Well, that's pretty much it, Sonic was saying.
I'm impressed, his father said. You've done our family proud.
Sonic smiled at that. This was something he had dreamt of for so long, and even though the circumstances were odd, he wouldn't have had it any other way. His mother picked up one of the power rings that Sonic had shown them. So, you're saying this enhances your speed? She asked for what seemed like the 100th time. I wonder if it'll work like you on Morris.
Maybe later, Patissa, he answered. Right now, we just need to enjoy him while he's here.
I'm not going anywhere, Sonic protested. But don't the Freedom Fighters need you? His mother asked. I guess. I mean, I think they could get along well enough without me. I don't believe that, she said. Neither do you. Sonic smiled again. Guess you're right. I just don't like the idea of leaving you just after I found you. He yawned, lifting his hand to his mouth. But for now, I wouldn't mind catching a quick nap.
What's that on your finger?
Morris asked. Sonic looked. I forgot I found this ring in my pocket, he said, holding it to torchlight. A very familiar design caught the light and reflected it back. Sally's signet ring, he said, looking at it more closely. She must have put it in my pocket when I left. Sally? As in Princess Sally? Patricia asked. Is there something you're not telling us? Well, I guess you could say we're close, Sonic answered evasively, putting the ring back in his pocket. Patricia's eyes narrowed. How close? Close. I see. Let me put it this way. Are there any royal grandkids in my near future?
Yes.
I mean, if Sonic is anywhere near Sally when she's in heat, there's gonna be woo!
Patricia!
Morris exclaimed as Sonic turned a bright shade of pink.
You haven't even gotten back in touch with our son for one day, and already you're embarrassing him.
I'm a mother. It's my right, she said simply. Well, son, answer the question. Mom! Sonic pleaded. Another time, please. That's okay. I'll just wait until I meet her. I'll find out then, she said, smiling. You're bringing her to meet us, aren't you?
Well, you see, leave the boy alone, Morris scolded.
Oh, all right, Patricia said, standing up and walking away. For now. Thanks, Dad, Sonic said after he had disappeared from sight. Then he laughed. You know, it's going to take some time getting used to having a real family again.
Don't mind her,
his father said, looking the way his wife had walked off.
It's hard on her, knowing what she's been wrong all these years.
What do you mean?
I suggested going to Knothole and some other safe places, but she insisted it would be a waste of my time.
Sonic shook her head. Maybe I should talk to her? Morris was about to reply when a piercing scream cut him off. "Patricia!" he yelled, scrambling to his feet and running towards the sound at full speed. Sonic gathered the power rings in his backpack and slung on. He ran towards the mouth of the cave, right just behind his father. Patricia then met a little way in, eyes wide with terror. "He found us!" she screamed, pointing. Morris motioned Sonic into the shadows, then turned to face the intruder. Sonic saw it was a skunk that might be considered ordinary, except for its size. "Oh my god, it's Jeffrey St. John, and he's pissed! So, spending all these years making fun of me, eh?"
Uh-oh. What do we do?
"Well, Trix, I'm a pony with I'm a Pegasus with druid magic. And you're a great illusionist. Let's rumble!
Dang straight!
Remember, folks, never mess with a Pegasus with one of his best friends. Bald not as big as Robotnik. He was at least a head taller than his parents. He held a two-handed sword that made intricate symbols carved into the blade. Their symbols glowed with a sullen red light and was reflected in the skunk's nearly white eyes.
Did you really think you're gonna hide from your misery?
He asked, his voice an odd mixture of pain, suffering, and pleasure. "Conquest? No, not me." Patricia, who by now had recovered her composure, faced him with as much dignity as he could muster. "I was hoping never to have to see your ugly face again, Alexei," she said with a slight tremor in her voice. Alexei cackled, and this made Sonic's quill stand on end.
"This from the woman who screamed her head off when she saw me."
"We're tired of your games, Alexei," Morris said. "Whatever you mean to do, you better try it now."
"Oh, but I just started playing,"
Alexei protested.
"But as for you, the game is, unfortunately, over."
He raised his sword high above his head, and the blade burst into flame. "I don't think so!" Sonic yelled, rushing towards Alexei and going into a spin attack. "Whoop!" Alexei said, surprised. Sonic hit him flush in the chest, sending him flying out of the cave. "You gotta teach me that one," Horace said, impressed. "Oh, well, you see, the thing is, Sonic learned that from one of his friends."
Martial art freak user, you know nobody's getting that reference.
No, but the right ones are.
Later, Dad. Right now, we gotta get out of here.
"You're not going anywhere,"
Alexei said, reappearing in the cave's mouth.
"So, there's a new player in the game. More fun for me."
Sonic ran at Alexei, who just stood there. But before he reached him, Sonic ran up the side of the cave, sprang up, planting both his feet into Alexei's chest, and sending the skunk to the ground. "I'll hold him!" Sonic yelled, jumping on Alexei's back as the skunk tried to get up.
"Meet you by the red tree!"
Patricia yelled, jumping onto her husband's arms. "You can't miss it!" "Man, I wish Sally was here," Sonic thought as he held his parents ran off. "She know how to hold him down!" The skunk pushed him off forcefully, sending Sonic crashing into the wall.
"You played good,"
the skunk said, retrieving his sword.
"But I played dirty."
He grabbed Sonic by his quills and lifted him off the ground.
"I'm out of here!"
Sonic said, rubbing his feet and placing him in Alexei's face. But Alexei just slammed Sonic headfirst to the wall before his feet made contact.
"You think I don't know how to deal with fast feet?"
he demanded, hating Sonic with every word.
"I dealt with Morris all the time, didn't I? Granted, you are somewhat faster than he is."
"Not this fast!" Sonic said, grabbing a power ray from his backpack. "Hang on!" Sonic yelled as he surrounded in light. He took off at a top speed, leaving behind a sonic boom that caused a slight cave-in. Alexei held on with a death grip, still smiling. Sonic ran through every snow pile he could find, but nothing shook him off. Finally, Sonic ran under a low-hanging branch. Thud, and a few missing quills later, Alexei was on the ground, laughing madly. "Now to find my parents," Sonic thought, speeding away. Lexi lay there, laughing so hard tears were running down his face.
Ugh, I am feeling so miserable right now, he yelled. But wait, this is nothing compared to the misery I'll make you feel.
Sonic found a ring tree and waited. Yo! Anyone here? He called. We hear Sonic, Patricia yelled from up in the branches. What are you two doing up there? Sonic asked as he jumped down.
Keep you looking out for you, Morris said. Man, you weren't kidding about those power rings, were you?
Nope. These things are really something. Too bad they don't last all that long.
What do you mean?
Well, they used to disappear after 24 hours. But lately, they've only been hanging around as much as 3 days or more. Either way, they can only be used once or twice. As he spoke, the power ring he held disappeared.
I got my speed, my brother got the brains,
Morris joked. We can't stay here, Patricia said. I don't know what you did to Alexei, but he won't stay down for long.
We have a couple of other hiding places,
Morris said, walking off. Hold on. Where's that building where you first found this thing?
We told you. It sank in the slump. We've been over that place with a fine-tooth comb and found nothing.
Yeah, well, I got some moves you might not, Sonic said cockily. Lead on, Dad. He's your son.
He's your son,
Morris muttered to Patricia as they headed out. Yours too, Patricia returned, half smiling. Sally ran to Sanctuary, not even bothering to take her coat. I'm here, she called, bursting inside. Tannis was waiting at the altar.
You come at a good time, Princess,
he said, looking up from his meditation.
I have just located him. He is traveling with his parents towards an old church in a dark slump. Now things are becoming clear.
Is Sonic in some danger? Sally asked worriedly. Tannis nodded, wiping his brow.
Quite severe, actually. An evil spirit that was captured long ago by a Holy One may have been released. A lapse on his part because of Mobius's current condition.
He produced 2 items from his robe.
I weaved this rope with my own hands. It's the only thing that can hold it. This charm will help you seal its powers. Use them wisely.
Sally put the charm around her neck and placed the rope in her backpack. How long will it take me to get there?
It depends on the strength of your feelings for each other. When Sonic was attacked here, I teleported him to a place that was filled with goodness. Now, you are going to a place of evil, so I must pinpoint a target.
Sally nodded. I'm ready. Wait a minute, Sandra yelled, running into the church with Tails and Rosie close behind. You forgot your coat. Sally looked at herself in surprise. You know, I didn't even notice, she admitted sheepishly. What would you do without me? Sandra asked playfully, holding Sally's backpack while she put on her coat.
Are we quite ready?
Tannis asked. Sally nodded, slinging on her backpack. The others moved away from her as Tannis began to chat. A wind rose around Sally, momentarily blocking her view. When it died, she had disappeared. Will she be okay? Sandra asked worriedly.
I hope so, little one,
Tannis said, glaring at his answer's state class portrait.
I hope so.
Sonic was following his father when something struck on him. Hey! Sonic yelled as he surprisingly fell, sliding through the snow until he came to a stop.
Sonic!
His father yelled, making a U-turn going back to his son.
You okay?
Sonic? A familiar voice asked, surprised. Wow, that didn't take long at all. Sal? Sonic asked, disbelieving as he got up and helped him to his feet. What are you doing here? I told you to stay in Knothole! No, you told me not to come with you. Never said anything about coming after you, she said matter-of-factly. Aren't you forgetting something? Patricia asked, tapping her foot against Morris's hip. Oh yeah, Sonic said, clearing his throat. Mom, Dad, I'd like you to meet Princess Sally Elisa Acorn. Sal, these are my parents. Delighted to meet you, Sally said, giving a slight curtsy. Morris set Patricia on her feet and both bowed to her. Princess, we are yours to command, they said solemnly. Sally smiled. Please, just call me Sally. I reserve my title for formal occasions, and this is not one of them.
Patricia smiled. I remember the day you were born, she said wistfully. I could tell you some things about your parents that you wish no one knew about. You knew my mother? Sally asked eagerly. I thought she died in childbirth. She did, but we knew each other before she became queen.
I don't mean to interrupt, Morris said, looking around, but Alexei will find us if we don't keep moving.
Who's this Alexei? Sally asked.
Did someone call my name?
He said, jumping up from behind a tree. Sally screamed and jumped into Sonic's arms. Alexei laughed quietly, looking at Sally with his milky eyes.
I don't understand why you have this effect on women,
he said. Well, you make us all think of Jeffrey St. John, he said.
It doesn't matter though. There have been 2 additions to the game just today. If they are here, who knows how many are out there just waiting for the taste of misery.
Uh-oh, this is not good, Morris said. He grabbed Sonic by the arm. Listen, he whispered fiercely. This temple's another 500 yards or so on the way we're going. Just look for a metal pole sticking out of the ground. Your mother and I will keep it busy, and then meet you there. Alexei drew his sword and advanced towards Sonic.
I have so much misery to share. I wish you'd like some.
Thanks, but no thanks, Sonic said, revving up his legs. We're out of here! He ran off with the direction he had been traveling, still holding on to Sally. Alexei was about to follow them, but Patricia stopped as a snowball him in Drago's head. Forgetting about us? Patricia asked, yawning.
How could I forget about the ones who made my life miserable all these years? He cackled. I'll leave the young ones for now. They have their whole lives ahead of them to feel misery. But for you, the game is sadly coming to an end. Gotta catch us first,
Morris taunted. Picking up Patricia and running the opposite direction Sonic and Sally had gone. Alexei followed close behind, telling what he liked to do to them once he caught them. But Morris always stayed out of their reach. Sonic, where are we going? Sally demanded as they were out of sight. No time to explain, Sal, Sonic answered. You'll see when we get there. In fact, he said, coming to a abrupt stop, we're here. Sally looked around. All I see is a snow-covered pole. Wait a minute. What's a metal pole doing in the middle of a swamp? Stand back, Sal, Sonic cautioned. Time for some drill action. Sonic started to spin around like a top and drilled into the snow and soft ground. He drilled around in a spiral until he came to a buried structure and found a way in. Come down, Sal! He called out to the tunnel he made. It's cool. A few moments later, Sonic heard Sally sliding down and caught her as she appeared. Some riding, huh? Yeah, setting her down on her feet. Sally looked down at the building in awe. Sonic, what is this place? See, that skunk we met is possessed by this evil spirit that was trapped here. I figured we might be able to get some clues about it. It was trapped to see how we could do it again. Sounds reasonable, Sally admitted. She pushed on a solid metal door, but it wouldn't budge. How about some help here? Sonic went up and helped push. After a few moments, the rusting door gave away. Inside the building was well lit, though no light source could be seen. It was strongly built, as though to serve a purpose, not for beauty. This place gives me the creeps. Yeah, me too, Sally agreed. She took Nicole from her boot and opened her up. Nicole, search this building for any structural anomalies or sources of power. Searching now, Sally, Nicole replied dutifully. There's a broken wall located 15 meters east of here. No other anomalies and no power source detected. Sonic and Sally hurried to the area Nicole had indicated. Wow, looks like something was trying to break into the room, Sally said, surveying the damage. Or claw its way out, Sonic said. You know some writing on the wall. Hey, come take a look at this. Sally studied the writing. Looks like an ancient Mobian, she said softly. Nicole translated. In this room is trapped an evil spirit of my own creation, Nicole began. I called it up in a failed experiment to open a gateway to the realm of the Almighty One. It possessed my assistant when she killed its original form and has been taunting me ever since. I had trapped it in the temple's inner sanctum with the help of the moron Shiran, the only one of us capable of handling the beast. She has promised to describe the way
to destroy it once and for all, but I cannot take the chance of it escaping. Therefore, I'm causing this temple to sink into the swamp, reappearing once every 100 years. Hopefully, a way will be found by then. Forgive my mistakes, you who read this. No longer worthy of being a holy one. Kara Temar.
Great, Sonic said after the call had finished. So we gotta drink Tannis here to beat this thing?
Maybe not, Sally said, taking the rope from her backpack. He gave me this to combat great evil. It must have meant the spirit. We could probably use this to tie it up and get it back down here, and this charm will seal its powers.
She said, holding up the charm. Pass, cool Sal. Now we just gotta figure out how to get to him.
That won't be a problem, Sally said confidently. I have a plan. Let's get back to the surface, and I'll explain there.
Almost there, Morris called over his shoulder, still taunting Alexei.
Dear, Patricia began. He's gone.
What? Morris came to a full stop, just in front of the tunnel Sonic had dug. She had Patricia on her feet and looked around for Alexei. Where'd he disappear to? I mean, I wasn't even trying to lose him this time.
Down there, Sonic? Patricia called through the hole. How did he dig this so fast?
A choked cry got her attention. She looked up just in time to see a black hand wrapped around her throat and lifted her off her feet. Oh, the misery you must be feeling, he said, tilting his head slightly to one side. You played a good game, but don't worry. It'll be over for you in a few seconds. Too bad I can't say the same for the others. I'm afraid their game is only beginning. Patricia struggled to free herself, but Alexei held a death grip on her neck. A quick glance showed Morris in the same situation.
Well, at least I got to see my son,
she thought, closing her eyes. Alexei slowly increased the pressure, wanting to prolong their suffering. Two hands covered his eyes. Time to play a new game, someone said cheerfully. I call it, now you see me, now you don't. Alexei felt his two catches pulled from his hands. He grabbed Sonic and threw him to a tree. But the night game's not over yet, he protested, drawing his sword and fancy on Sonic. Sonic just watched as Alexei approached, sword bursting into flames. He raised it high above his head, ready to strike the death blow. The heat from the sword listened to the snow and the tree's branches, causing it to fall on him, covering it in an instant. Sonic ran to where Sally was just landing with his parents. You two okay? He asked worriedly.
He just got us back. You ain't getting rid of us so easily, Patricia choked between coughs.
He's coming, Morris yelled, pointing.
Sonic, grab the rope, Sally said, tossing one end to him. That ain't gonna hold him, Patricia cautioned, but neither listened.
Lacey burst from the snow, sword flaming brightly. It seems the game must now end for all of you, he screeched, running towards the group.
Sonic ran left as Sally ran right. Lexi hit the rope, trying to break through it. Sonic and Sally began to round around him in opposite directions, looping the rope around him several times. Sally tied the ends together securely. Sonic grabbed the sword from Alexi's hand, which had been pinned to his side.
Do you really believe a mere rope can hold me?
Alexi laughed. Then why don't you break free? Sally asked, stepping back. Alexi strained against the rope, but he could not break it.
What the hell?
He screamed in surprise and anger. Sally took the charm from around her neck. Oh, did I mention that the rope was woven by a tiny sea rat? She asked innocently, stepping towards him cautiously.
So, the line of sea rats still exists, eh? He said, laughing again. Well, more players for the game.
Well, the game will do without you for a while, Sally said, placing the charm around Lexi's neck. Screams like the voice had never been heard on Mobius erupted from Alexi's throat. Sally picked him up and threw him down the tunnel Sonic had dug. By the way, she called after him, that charm is too. Sonic tossed the sword into a frozen pool of water. The ice cracked and the sword sank beneath the rapidly refreezing surface. Soon, all as it was before. Maurice and Patricia came to stand beside their son. Is it over? Patricia asked in an odd whisper. Is it finally over? I believe so, Sally answered, walking up to Sonic and hugging him from behind. Morris and Patricia exchanged glances.
What will we do now?
Morris asked.
For 12 years we've been fighting him.
Hey,
Why did you come back to Knothole with us? Sonic suggested. I'd love to have you there.
I don't know,
Patricia demurred.
Knothole wasn't all that big, if I remember. We wouldn't want to impose. Well, you can always use Sonic's hut till we build one for you two,
Sally said. Where will I sleep? Sonic asked.
Well, I don't think Tails would mind having you for a roommate,
she said. Pascal, Sal, Sonic agreed. So, is it Sal? His parents exchanged another glance and then nodded. Sonic smiled. Oh, before I forget, Sal, he said, taking her ring out of his pocket and putting it on her finger. I think this belongs to you. Sally looked at her signet ring and let out a small sigh.
That's not the ring I'd like to see you put there,
she whispered in his ear.
So, you two are that close.
Now I know we have a lot to talk, Sally. Maybe we should get back to Knothole, Sonic said quickly, revving up his legs.
Oh, no, you don't,
Patricia said, grabbing Sonic by his ear.
You can go, but she stays,
she said, unhooking Sally's hands. Sally laughed and grabbed Patricia's hands.
I haven't known you long, but I already like your style,
she said, flying up and heading towards Knothole.
We'll meet you boys back in Knothole.
How long can she do that?
Slap Morris asked, watching him go. Long story, Dad, Sonic said, revving his legs again. I don't want to lose them. Who knows what they're talking about?
Sonic, your mother's been waiting 15 years for this.
Let her have her fun. I guess, Sonic said deftly as he ran off, following the ladies. You think we'll reach Knothole tonight?
With our speed, definitely would.
Later that night, back in Knothole, Sandra was pacing worriedly.
When will they get back?
She wondered aloud. Maybe I should go after them.
Sandra, we've been over this 1,000 times, Tails said calmly. If you go, then we're without any kind of leader. You have to stay here as a princess.
I know, Sandra said irritably. Then she softened. Oh, Miles, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to snap at you.
Don't worry about it. Just worry about your sister.
He peered out the window of the hut.
And here she comes now!
He exclaimed, pointing. Sandra looked and saw Sally flying, holding a female hedgehog she didn't know. She ran out with Tails close behind as Sally landed.
Sally!
Sandra cried, jumping to her sister's arms as soon as she let Patricia go.
Easy, sis. I'm okay,
Sally said, hugging her quickly and putting her down.
Sis?
Patricia asked, eyeing Sally.
There's only one princess as far as I know.
I'm Sandra, Princess Sandra of the House of Acorn, second in line to the throne of Melbius, Sandra said officially.
My name is Patricia. I'm Sonic's mother,
Patricia said, curtsying.
But tell me, if both your parents were foxes, how is it you're a hedgehog?
Well, squirrel, ground squirrel.
Tails smiled. That's a long story. My name's Miles. Miles Prower, but everyone calls me Tail.
Prower? I know that name. But you're too old to be their child.
I'm only 11, Tails said defensively. It's a long story, he added,
catching Patricia's look.
Everything is,
she muttered. Yeah, it's about 9 chapters long, with a few bits stops here and there for some commentary. Sonic and Morris came running up. We're here! Morris yelled.
Man, I had to use a power ring just to keep up with him. Once I got a hold of it.
Morris, everyone's probably asleep, Patricia scolded. Keep it down.
So, enjoy your talk? Sonic asked Sally.
Sally nodded. But we're not done yet, she said. Your mother is going to help me solve a little problem I have. Oh, the same one I found myself in when I was her age,
Patricia said mysteriously as she disappeared inside Sally's hut. Do you have any idea what she's talking about? Sonic asked his father.
Morris smiled softly. When we were about your age, I had been going with your mother for about 2 years. Wanted to ask her to marry me, and she knew it, but I never could get up the nerve.
How did you?
Morris chuckled. I didn't. She solved the problem by asking me.
Sonic went pale for a second. You don't think... But Sally would...
Oh boy. This sounds good,
Sandra said, running into the hut.
Tails went just as pale as Sonic. Oh, she doesn't get any ideas, he muttered.
Sonic recovered himself. That's right. I gotta go see Uncle Chuck about something, Sonic said. Be back in a bit.
Mind if I come? Morris asked. I know it's late, but I think he'll be glad to see me.
You got it, Dad, Sonic said, smiling as he ran to Metropolis. Just to lose time! This time, I'll keep it in cruise control.
Might be an idea to lay low for a while,
Tails said, flying swiftly to his hut. A few moments later, Uncle Chuck heard a knock on his secret door. He went to look and saw Sonic standing there, foot tapping impatiently.
Sonic!
He exclaimed, opening the door.
What are you doing back already?
Sonic hugged his uncle. Well, Unc, he said hastily, I decided it wasn't worth it to stay all that long after all.
What? This doesn't change the sound of my nephew talking. What makes you change your mind?
Oh, the fact that I found him, Sonic said, stepping to the side. Another hedgehog stepped to the view.
Hello, Charles,
Morris said, smiling.
You haven't changed a bit.
Uncle Chuck stood there, mouth open in astonishment.
Morris, is that you?
He whispered. Morris nodded and hugged his brother. Both stood there, crying and hugging, until Sonic spoke up. He and Mom came back to Knothole, he said proudly.
Purchases back too?
Uncle Chuck asked.
This is more than I could have ever dreamed of. I see you taking up my profession,
Morris said, smiling.
In a way,
Uncle Chuck said, bringing them both inside, shutting the door. I'm sure you two have a lot to catch up on, Sonic said, holding open the door. So I'll just annoy the SWATbots. I feel like myself for the first time with this winter.
Alright, Sonic, but be careful, Uncle Chuck warned. Sniffly's up to something, and it's big. Haven't been able to get a reading on it yet.
Will do, Unc. Be back in half an hour.
Oh, and Sonic, I'm looking over those plans you gave me. If I'm following you right, it should work. But you only get one shot at it. I'll start working on the devices you need to pull it off.
Way past, Unc. Time to do it to it. Sonic rocketed out of his secret building.
He reminds me much of you,
Uncle Chuck said.
He reminds me more of Patricia,
Morris Karen.
So let's see what you got.
Back in the dark swamp, a black-furred hand reached out of a hole in the ground, gripping a wet, but still flaming rune sword as the sun was beginning to rise.
Oh, the agony of it all,
Alexei said, pulling himself out of the hole. He tried to pull the charm off, but his hand passed right through it. His rune sword had similar luck.
The pain is so unbearable.
He collapsed on the ground in a fit of laughter.
How many?
He asked through his tears.
How many are out there just waiting to play my game, to share my misery? But first, I need to finish with those four. Too bad I don't know which way they went.
He rolled to his feet and staggered off in a random direction, mumbling contentedly to himself.